In a portrait painted in 1511, an elderly man is shown seated, appearing quiet and thoughtful. His gaze is turned downwards, his brow deeply furrowed. One bejeweled hand clasps a white cloth, the other grasps the arm of his chair. The brilliant red and gleaming white of the man's garments stand out against a rich green backdrop. These saturated colors suggest a liveliness that contrasts with the solemn expression and sagging features of our aged sitter. He sits far back in his chair, with his knees angled in the same direction as his gaze. He appears deeply preoccupied in mind and body with concerns beyond the reach of the viewer. We feel as though we are given intimate access to a moment of deep introspection from a thoughtful and careworn man. The reality is a bit more complicated. Portraits are never straightforward records of fact. What we see here is a conspiracy between the sitter, the Renaissance Pope Julius II, and the painter whom he hired to depict him, Raphael. Such is Raphael's skill in creating this portrait that we are persuaded that Julius is a man of temperate and thoughtful character. In reality, Julius II was known as the warrior pope, famed throughout the Christian world for his extraordinary temper, uncompromising nature, and ferocious spirit. He was called terribile, having terribilità, a designation that suggested he inspired superhuman awe. The position of a Renaissance pope was a challenging one. On the one hand, the pope was the institutional figurehead of the Catholic Church and the living counterpart to Jesus Christ, the Christian Savior. On the other hand, the pope faced the same worldly responsibilities as any earthly ruler. He was the governor of the Church and ruler of the Papal States, the territories in central Italy under his direct control. A pope had to navigate carefully between his spiritual and practical duties. Coming to the papal throne after the death of his hated predecessor, Pope Alexander Borgia, Julius worked voraciously to reclaim lost territories and expel foreign powers from Italy, personally commanding his papal troops. During his reign, he sought to restore the glory of the papacy, of Rome, and of the Church. Born Giuliano della Rovere, he even adopted a name as pope suited to his grand ambitions, Julius, a clear nod to the ancient Roman general and dictator Julius Caesar. Raphael's portrait presents this famously active and fiery pope as physically passive. He sits and he thinks. His infamous terribilità is exchanged for a more dignified restraint. This is the man who, when asked if he wanted to be shown holding a book in a portrait by Michelangelo, replied, "Give me a sword, I am not a man of letters." The rich colors he wears emphasize a Christ-like nature. In religious art, white is a marker of innocence and symbolizes the virtue of faith, while red recalls Christ's sacrificial blood and the virtue of charity, and green symbolizes the virtue of hope. The precious gems upon his fingers point to his wealth and power while echoing the sacred colors around him. Julius is presented as both humble and grand. He wears a simple velvet cap rather than a papal tiara, even though we know he spent tens of thousands of ducats on a spectacular new, gem-studded tiara just a year before. His head is framed by the prominent golden finials of his throne-like chair that are shaped like acorns, a symbol of the Della Rovere family. Notably, he has a thick white beard. This was not typical for a priest. Traditionally, a beard is worn as a sign of mourning. Julius is said to have grown this beard after losing the territory of Bologna to the French, vowing to remain unshaven until these enemies were driven from Italy. Another great Roman general, Julius Caesar, was said to have done the same, growing his beard in grief at his soldiers' defeat. The first pope, St. Peter, is consistently shown with a beard and often holds the keys to heaven, thought to be given to him by Jesus Christ. If we look closely, we see a reference to these keys embroidered into the green cloth behind Julius, suggesting he is a worthy heir to Peter's throne. His hot temper and taste for soldiering brought Julius criticism. In a satirical pamphlet called Julius Exclusus, generally thought to be written by the priest and scholar Erasmus of Rotterdam, Julius is shown arriving at the gates of heaven after his death, decked out in full armor and at the head of an army, and is denied entry. Raphael's portrait softens this formidable military man. Julius well understood the importance of his public image, and he hired one of the city's most inventive artists to immortalize him in paint. Under Raphael's brush, the warrior pope is tamed, given a saintly character suitable to the person expected to embody Christ on earth. We are reminded that portraits are never straightforward representations. They can celebrate, they can persuade, they can even lie. Julius's portrait was gifted to the Church of Santa Maria del Popolo in Rome, a religious institution under the patronage of the Della Rovere family. After his death, the painting was displayed, at least for a time, over an altar, a singular honor for this remarkable man.